count. Just to be clear, you didn't do it.
We know who did it, Steve. We know. And we know who spearheaded this cover-up. You all know.
Yes, we do.
If John was beaten up and attacked in that house, who did it?
We don't know.
We don't know.
We don't know. And it's not for us to know. Somebody other than Karen is responsible for that, for the killing of John.
Yeah. Roberta in the truth zone, mic hitting raw. Spotlight shining, she exposing the flaw. Debunking the myth, breaking their facade. This is Glass City, respect the squad. On these NYC blocks where the skyline flex big. Roberta Glass slicing lies with a truth rig. Innocence fraudsters, your stories unravel. She's a map through the madness of gritty gravel. Glass don't bend and facts don't break. She's a storm that's called, you feel the quake. Exposing tales stitched with crooked seams. Justice in the lens, shattered fake dreams. Screams about killers, painted heroes in disguise. She burning propaganda with fire in her eyes. No glamour for the guilty, she call it straight. She backs victims, the voice stay away. Stats and receipts, no spin, no clutter. Cold cases whisper, she cuts through the mutter. Truth's her tempo, don't confuse the beat. She's standing for the real while you taking a seat. True crime's a block, facts the artillery. Spinning those lies, yo, she checks that misery. Tabloid tales get smashed, no time to play. She's glass hard, break the false and save the day. True crime's a block, facts the artillery. Spinning those lies, yo, she checks that misery. Tabloid tales get smashed, no time.
Okay. How is everybody? Feel like I haven't seen everybody in such a long time. Hello, Myrna. Hello, kitties. Hello, Lisa C. Hello, Case 10. Jen B, your latex spouse. Thank you for holding down the fort. Markar, Tracy. Markar, I haven't seen you in a while. Kit Kat. Hello, everybody. So I wanted to talk about with you guys this juror number 11. I mean, it's just like what I've been saying. I mean, I don't think there was a day I came on talking about the trial where I didn't say, well, this was like a really strong day for, the Commonwealth, or some days I said it was a strong day for the defense or whatever. But I'd always say, I don't know what the outcome of this trial is going to be, because if this jury has been touched by Karen Reed's innocence fraud campaign that has now been going on for 3 years, pushed out by the media, not just Turtle Boy, embraced by our media, and just hammered home. It doesn't matter what happens in the trial. None of this matters. And boy, was I right. I didn't want to believe it. It was true. I wanted to believe that we had an impartial jury. But juror 11 betrays herself. Every Free Karen Reed talking point is hit. She's very deceptive. She's a con woman, a woman of a million faces, a million aliases. Her father-in-law is a federal convicted criminal, federally. I mean, I'm really basing my work on some of the great research done by Innocence Fraud Watch and her blog. I put the link in the description of this episode. I would really encourage you all to check it out, because there's going to be things that I just can't go over all of her that are really telling, that I just don't have time for. There's so much to talk about with this juror, so many interviews. She's given nonstop interviews. And I was first aware of her on X when she came up and she said, I was juror 11, Sue Boston. She wants to talk to Sue O'Connell, who's a huge Free Karen reader. You really hammered home the Free Karen Reed innocence fraud campaign, total innocence fraudster. And right under that, someone said, talk to Roberta Glass. Now, this woman has done every interview she can, but she had no interest in talking to me immediately. She has talked to no one critical of Karen Reed at all, only the innocence fraudster. She's going on Turtle Boy's show tonight. I mean, I would think she would be listening. She's such a gigantic gaslighting narcissist, but I think she's getting ready for her big debut. She's really like another Turtle Boy in how well she manipulates, how deceptive she is, talking out of both sides of her mouth. She's a lawyer in Brazil, but being a lawyer in Brazil is not, it's not quite not even anywhere near the kind of schooling we have here for our lawyers. Her favorite lawyer was a Lizzy. I mean, that'll give you an idea. Your latex spouse says that juror had a plan. She betrays herself. The mask slips and she contradicts herself. I mean, or I don't know if it's a contradict. Yeah, I guess she contradicts herself. But you can see that she's not telling the truth. Sometimes she slips up. We'll go over all those things. A lot of her interviews, her Muslim faith, which seems to come and go with the wind, depending on who she's talking to. She has these woman of a million faces, million aliases. Seems like let's start with the Innocence Fraud Watch's excellent blog. So here she is. Hello, I'm Juror 11. Please note, I don't regularly use X. Well, or maybe I got rid of my X or realized it would be good if I wanted to get on the jury. Since I live in Boston, I might be called to be on the jury. If I don't post on X, I just follow these people independently. I have 4 children, a part-time job, and a busy life. So what she wants you to think from that is that she's too busy to follow in the Karen Reed trial. I'm a licensed attorney in Brazil. Another description on her ex was that she was a true crime fan. I'm so happy I'm sharing my experience, but I will not engage in arguments. Thank you. Don't test me. I'm only going to do softball interviews. Don't ask that follow-up question. Some insight into the many faces of Juror 11, conceited gaslighter, boy is she ever, attention seeker and depraved con artist, Paula Prado, a.k.a. Paula Serageldin, a.k.a. Paula Prado Serageldin. She appears to be a conceited gaslighting narcissist. On June 20th, 2025, Paula Prado, former Juror 11, a Brazilian attorney and a marketing specialist, chose to announce on X, the tweet I just read. She's given interviews to Cowie Carr too. I forgot about that. But look, she looks very different here. She said she gained 12 pounds during the thing, but look how different. Here's her old X account. There's another X account where she's going by Serageldin. Variants, LinkedIn profiles, and red flags. Here she's Paula Prado Serageldin. On a LinkedIn profile under the name Paula Prado Serageldin, former juror number 11 states, I have a law degree and have been an active member of the Brazilian Bar Association since 2010. During my academic career, I did internships in private law firms, the Brazilian Court of Auditors, and the federal court. I gained extensive experience in labor law and later as a lawyer in civil and consumer law. In 2012, I moved to the USA, pausing my career in the legal field to study English. For personal reasons, I ended up living in California, USA for 10 years. During that time, I took some courses in administration and marketing, worked as a translator, teacher, administrative assistant, and in digital marketing. So she talked her way into all those different career fields. In 2021, I returned to Brazil and have been updating myself on new legislation, CPC, CDC, and started a specialization in family and succession law, in addition to becoming fluent in English. Her English is excellent. The experience of living abroad has made me adaptable, flexible person, able to overcome any obstacle with calm and determination. I am temporarily like getting on the Karen Reed jury so I can get a murderer out of responsibility for her murder because I hate the police and I side with criminals. I am temporarily in Brazil with my family, but I'm interested in continuing my studies and working in law from anywhere in the world. In another LinkedIn profile, which appears to be Paula Prado, she is a lawyer in Campbell, California. In her 2019 How I Found Islam story, Paula Padro states, I'm Paula. I'm originally from Rio de Janeiro, Brazil, and I moved to California in 2011. So what was it? Was it 2010 or 2011? But here in Paula Prado's Serageldin bio, it states in 2012, I moved to the USA. So, right? 2012 or 2011. For some reason, I thought it was 2010. Didn't you say she was in California in 2010? It's 2011, 2012. In yet another of her LinkedIn bio profiles here, Paula Serageldin states she is a Brazilian attorney and marketing specialist in Walpole, Massachusetts. The link in her bio to Prado Serageldin law firm appears to be broken. Paula Serageldin states, recognizing that practicing Brazilian law in the U.S. would be limiting, I chose to explore complementary career paths. While raising my children and assisting my husband in managing his business, I discovered a natural fit in customer-facing roles. I took on part-time customer service positions where my approachable demeanor and strong interpersonal skills proved to be a great asset. Inspired by these experiences, I pursued and completed a MBA in marketing in July 2024, expanding my professional scope. From 2021 to early 2024, I returned temporarily to Brazil and re-engaged in legal practice, working directly with clients and providing legal support. Back in the U.S., I continue to bridge my expertise by supporting Brazilian law firms with online marketing initiatives, combining my legal and marketing skills in a practical way. While I'm not trained in American law, my sharp analytical thinking, strong legal foundation, and quick adaptability makes me confident in my ability to assist attorneys effectively. I'm now seeking new opportunities where I can bring value, whether as a legal assistant or paralegal, administrative support, etc. And this is her husband's company, Nor Human Consulting. The business Paula Prado refers to, it states, Nor Admin and Operations. She grew up in Rio de Janeiro, graduated from law school, and specializes in business law. She practiced for several years in Rio. She decided to take enrichment English and business courses in the United States, where she embraced the path of Islam and now found a new calling to serve the Muslim community. Paula helps administrator Nor events and operational tasks. Paula Padro's husband is Kareem A. Serageldin, the founder of Nor HC, and we're going to listen to some of their podcasts together where she talks about feminism. Paula, among other things, in Islam. Paula Padro's father-in-law is Ahmed Haladi Yassin Serageldin, a.k.a. Ahmed Serageldin, a former Raytheon systems engineer. He was found guilty in July 2020 for illegally retaining national defense information. So, time card fraud catches defense contractor who stole thousands of classified files. Unlawful retention of national security information. So, I think where other people are going with this is that they're saying, and this is, I think, is I'll just say a batshit crazy conspiracy theory, the idea that the feds, meaning the Attorney General's office, put her in as a juror. I've heard that conspiracy theory. I think that's where they were going. I think it's crazy, but I think that it has much more to do with her mindset and seeing an opportunity she can use her powers of persuasion with her marketing skills, her ability to have many different faces, to get on the jury in many different personas. Paula Prado also appears to be related to this by this marriage to this Kareem Serageldin. So United States versus Kareem Serageldin. Hold on one second. So we're not exactly sure how this is related. This was a conspiracy to falsify of books and records and commit wire fraud. So she's around a lot of, if this is connected truly through her husband, this is another federal crime that he was convicted of, someone in her family. So she's got criminals in her family. Okay, hold on one second. Abuse by proxy. In a blog headed My Exclusive Interview with Karen Reed, juror number 11, with the byline 10 questions with juror Paula Prado, Jessica Mikado, another free Karen reader, asked Paula Prado, what is something you would want everyone to know about this case or trial? I think I'd want to speak directly to the O'Keefe family. And Innocence Fraud Watch asked, why? Why would you want to speak directly to the O'Keefe family? You betrayed them. You violated the trust placed in you by the O'Keefe family with your dishonorable deception. A motive for why you chose to betray John O'Keefe's family and friends and countless other people appears to be linked to the fact that you chose to put your own selfish ambition above all and anything else. So immediately she started marketing. I'm a juror. I'm going to do interviews. I'm sure, she may come on the scene as a second kind of turtle boy. This is where the money is. She hooked into that, and she could have her own YouTube show. I don't know how she's going to get involved in Free Karen Read, but she may be here to stay. And your differing TV performances may fool some people, but many of us who are familiar with the very real innocence fraud phenomenon and the varying actors involved, not dissimilar to yourself, see through you, Paula Prado. During an interview you chose to give to Vinnie Politan, of course, on Court TV, and we're going to get to that, which was headed Karen Reed, juror, you state, we represented the society. We represent what the community wanted, I believe. You represented yourself and your misguided ideologies and what you wanted. Letting a criminal go, a killer go, and stating, I think I'd want to, and giving the big middle finger to authority and the police. I think I want to speak directly to the O'Keefe family. I was the juror who left the courtroom in tears. And she says a similar thing in her podcast with her husband about how she broke into tears. So she knows that it makes her look like she has a heart if she says she broke into tears. And it wasn't because justice had been served for Karen Reed, though I was happy for her and her family. I cried for Mrs. O'Keefe, Paul, and everyone in John's family. If you cried for yourself and no one else, says Innocence Fraud Watch. You did not cry for Mrs. O'Keefe, Paul, and everyone in John's family. Save us all your alleged momentary and insincere pity, and let us indeed be honest. Let's be honest. That's when someone's going to deceive you. They start out with honestly or let's be honest. I knew I was stepping into a hornet's nest when I chose to speak about my experience. Really? You said you knew nothing. I expected heat. I expected hate. Your intentions was not only to step into a hornet's nest and stir things up. It was to bait, ridicule, and taunt John O'Keefe's family and others and cause yet more harm to the people you claim you cried for. The innocence fraud tactics you are choosing to use during your variety of TV interviews, and we'll get to those, may eventually help you gain employment in the legal field with all these lying lawyers, but your lack of integrity and dark personality will eventually catch up with you. Referring to John O'Keefe's family, Paula Prado goes on to state the obvious, they did not get the justice they deserve. You omitted to mention the fact that you were one of the 12 reasons why the O'Keefe family did not get the justice they deserve. You failed to weigh the evidence presented to you objectively, and you failed to use some common sense. You chose to enable an actual, factual killer to get away with her murder. And she also says to Just Mikado, I understand they might not want to hear from any of us, but I want to make it clear. This sounds like Amanda Knox talking to the Kircher family and threatening to go to Meredith Kircher's grave, and then eventually going to Meredith Kircher's grave, I believe. But I want to make it clear that our duty was only to determine whether there was reasonable doubt. That was not your to determine whether there was reasonable doubt. Is there reasonable doubt? It's to suss out the facts and to make sure your doubts are reasonable. If you understood the family might not want to hear from you, why didn't you choose to keep your sanctimonious word salad to yourself? There is zero doubt that Karen Reed was responsible for her murder of John O'Keefe. None. And Paula Prado goes on to say, if there's any chance that Karen Reed was responsible for John's death, then the blame lies with the sloppy investigation that made it impossible to connect her to this tragic passing. It's a murder. There's no evidence of a sloppy investigation. This sounds like you have a biased agenda and you're attempting to parrot Karen Reed's baseless allegations. So the Massachusetts State Police pointed out, it is important to remember that the investigation into the death of John O'Keefe has been investigated with great scrutiny by both members of the State Police, International Affairs, and the FBI. To date, there has been yet any information that this investigation was compromised in any way. Karen Reed's countless confessions connect her to the murder of John O'Keefe, among a plethora of other evidence. So, not only did you fail the O'Keefes, your cruel and callous gaslighting of them continues to fail them, but it also showing us all what a truly ugly and ruthless individual you are. You also failed two innocent and vulnerable children whose parents had previously passed away and who depended on their uncle, John, who had become their surrogate parent. Why did you choose to ignore the powerful and damning evidence of John O'Keefe's young niece? It is abundantly clear to anyone who bothered to pay attention that Karen Reed's stories kept changing depending on which witness she spoke to in the early morning hours of January 29th. You also went on Vinny as a part of a revenge tactic. She said, and I would really like to ask people to look for reliable sources of news and what really happened. There's a lot of fake news and a lot of stuff going on that's so out there. So that's, if you guys really care about justice for John O'Keefe, let's focus on getting justice for him. And this was really telling. She asked, what witness did you trust the most? And she said, I trusted the forensic scientists from Massachusetts State Police Labs like Maureen Hartnett and Tess Chart. But Tess Chart testified during trial 1 in 2024, not during the 2025 retrial while you were a juror. And you cannot, she says that she went back now and she didn't have a good sense of names like Maureen Hartnett and and you cannot mistake the voice of test chart with witness Carl Misaki, however much you try to backpedal. She says, you may be right. I just Googled Massachusetts State Lab expert with soft voice Karen Reed, and that name came up. Really? It could very well be another lab expert with a soft voice who testified at the second trial. Really? You didn't check it out? You're Googling names, but you're not checking it out? It's a Freudian slip. And she says in several interviews, I was buzzed. I shouldn't have been driving. My alertness wasn't where it should have been. So Gretchen Voss was the architect of the word buzzed. And what are your thoughts? She says, once we determined that the videos were admissible, I couldn't ignore the charge, meaning the DUI charge. All right. And all right. So I'll leave it at that. It goes on. It's a real, I don't want to, but did I miss anything out of here that's super important? It's a really great blog. I encourage you to read it and look at the clips. This was really interesting too. On this right here, she says the amount of money Hank Brennan was paid in one interview, and that was never came up in trial. And she seems to be really upset that the Commonwealth paid so much money for this trial.
And we definitely didn't want to hang this jury. We were very positive that we're going to discuss everything as much as we can, because we don't want to. The amount of money spent in this trial made me very upset, and I'm sure made my fellow.
Right. I wanted to punish the Commonwealth. I wanted to punish those in authority, give a big middle finger to them. You know. She's a true Karen reader through and through. All right. Miss anything? Myrna says, the verdict caused me to get PTSD. Did you? I'm no longer watching any Karen Reed related shows other than Roberta. Oh, thanks. And John. Okay, thank you. Strawberry, thanks for the super sticker. All right. What did I want to show you? I have so much to show you. I just want to give you a little idea. I'm going to start, I think, with, and then I also want to go into, there's been some interviews with John Jackson, Jen McKay, one with John Jackson and Vinny. I want to talk about where I think all these characters are going wrong. Jen McCabe, Brian Albert, and the Alberts, the witnesses who are getting harassed. There's a whole interview with them on Nightline or Dateline. I'm sorry, I get those two confused. I believe it's Nightline. We'll talk about that, where I think they're going wrong. I mean, it's like 7 minutes long. They would do much better. I think what they're thinking is that they want to get their message out on a high platform show. But first of all, the free Karen readers are just going to ignore it or ridicule it. So you're never going to reach them. And the rest of the people, your message is so edited and muted and watered down. You do much better talking to a smaller platform, someone, I hate to say it, someone like me who would let you talk, who would give you control. Anyone, I'll put it out there again. Contact me at robertaglass23@gmail. You don't have to talk on the air. We can talk behind the scenes, but it's just not going to be going on Vinny is not the solution. He's not going to let you talk. He's not going to give you control, and he's going to ask all the wrong questions. And John O'Keefe's memory, unfortunately, you have to talk in like sound bites in this. This is why long podcasts became so popular, as people became hungry for real conversations. Let's talk about the evidence, the real evidence in the case, not this fantasy that people like Juror 11 has pointed out, that this was some kind of iffy case and a sloppy investigation. I mean, this is the refrain of innocence fraud campaigns everywhere. sloppy investigation, police misconduct, real killer has yet to been caught, tons of reasonable doubt, didn't prove their case. They but generally blame the police. It's mostly tunnel vision investigation. Blame the police. Sloppy police investigation. Blame the police again. And our media has jumped on this. I mean, it hasn't jumped. It's been decades of this, of a real war on our police. But when they need help, who do they call? The police, ironically. All right, let's get into a little bit of, you can hear her with her husband talking about Islam and feminism. Take a listen.
The woman be not behind the man, but next to the man.
Same side.
Oh no,
Like,
you were one of those feminists?
Yes.
And having the same coffee? How did you go from bikini to burkini?
I don't need to be against acts of kindness to be feminist.
Haven't you heard enough of my voice and Coffee with Kareem, from...
Yeah, I'm definitely the number one fan, but,
born and raised in Brazil, Rio de Janeiro, specifically,
correct.
right?
I was raised Catholic. My grandmother was Catholic. And but in Brazil, everyone is born Catholic. I was taught how to pray and believe in God and have fear of God. Funny story is that it's like my family, we're all women and they are very clean women. So every time was a storm, my mom would tell me I would be afraid of the thunderstorm. My mom would tell me it was God washing the house and moving the furniture. So we had like this practical vision of God in our house.
And it's connected to cleaning and organizing.
Connected to cleaning and organizing, yes.
Hilarious. Yeah, my wife loves to clean and organize, so...
Right. They're going to admit that little flaw. She just really loves to clean and organize. It's really just a bad... Hey, Allison. Thanks. One lucky person gets a gift membership. Hey. Did you get my email? I hope you did. I sent you an email. My phone is so slow. I hope you got it, Allison.
That's fascinating. That's part of your childhood theology right there.
Yes.
So how did you go from that to eventually leaving Brazil to come to the United States and then studying Islam before that, and then eventually embracing Islam in the United States? I mean, Brazil's usually considered a culture that is very different from most Muslim cultures.
For sure.
So how did you go from bikini to burkini?
Well, I gotta say, we do have soccer in common. I think most of the middle.
So she's not wearing a hijab, so she kind of play acts the role of a very devout Muslim on here, on this, but it's contradicted with never mentioned in any of her other interviews, never again. And she says an interesting thing about how after 9/11, people were saying bad things about Muslims. And I remember my memory of being in New York for 9/11. My friend's roommate was killed in 9/11, looking for Cantor Fitzgerald, Erin Horowitz. That there was an effort not to villainize Islam. But she said all the villainization of Islam made her want to join Islam.
True.
Countries love soccer, just like Brazilians. So back in 2002, there was the soap opera in Brazil, very popular, called El Clone. Probably a lot of people heard about. And there was a story about this Moroccan lady who was leaving Rio and deal with all the cultural differences. And she was sent to Morocco to get married. And she had a very wise uncle who was always coming with good messages about Islam, a little details about the history of Islam, who was Prophet Muhammad, how we should behave in a family. And it was the character was a very interesting character. So that was the first time I heard about Slum. That was also the same year of the 9/11 terrorist attack, and so the whole world was talking.
I just assumed Jessica Hyde was Orthodox Jewish, but that's probably my. Does anyone know? Curious.
Bad things about Slum and Muslims and these people is horrible, and at the same time we were watching this show every day at 8 p.m. all the families would gathering to learn about this religion, who actually, at least in television, seems to be pretty cool and similar to our values, and seems to be good people.
Yeah.
Right, except when you try to leave. Except when you try to leave being a Muslim. Then they never talk to you again. You're apostate. And you are to be shunned and never to be talked to again, which is a real difference between this religion and a lot of others. I don't know if you guys have. There's a lot of really good ex-Muslim content creators that talk about their experience.
So that was my first impression of Slum. And when I finished my college, I went to.
Right. And so her husband was praising Sharia law, praising the Charlie Hebdo attacks. He scrubbed that from the internet really quick. So they appear quite mild in this, but actually, yeah, I love Apostate Prophet. Yeah.
Canada, and I met some more Muslims, and I had a very good first impression of them. The girls didn't seem to be oppressed and sad and shy or anything. They were like happy hijabi girls, happy to share, happy to teach, to show us around the city. The guys were very kind and gentlemen. They didn't seem to be the sexist, horrible Muslim men that we heard who doesn't let the woman drive or do this or that. And so it was a very interesting, good impression. And then after that, when I came to the United States in 2011, I again meet more Muslims, and I start to be more curious about Islam, about what Islam teaches, what are the pillars of Islam, and how the historical side of it, who was Prophet Muhammad and everything. And that how my journey actually started, like learning a bit here, a bit there. And there was a period of my life where I was very lost, feeling very disconnected with God. I was alone here, far from my family, far from my friends, everything I knew. I felt like I didn't have any meaning, and it was right at the same time of Ramadan. So I took this time of Ramadan. I tried to fast. I did all wrong, but I tried to fast on my own. I was pretty much most of the time in my room, just reading and learning and watching videos. And I found so.
So do you think that's how she got into Karen Reed, reading and learning and watching videos? I mean, the list of the people that she followed on X, she said she did follow them all after the trial, not before. Which may be true, but she knew right where to go. She goes, I just followed the people in the courtroom, but not any of the people who were, or one person I'm thinking of who was in the courtroom who supported the O'Keefe family. It was all free Karen Reed, like just wall to wall free Karen Reed, total grifter. Yeah. So this will give you an idea. Then she goes off on feminism. Oh, it's really fascinating. I don't know if I have time for all this. I'm wondering, how interested are you in this? I don't know. Her accent. Let me see if I can go to the point. She talks about how she was raised by women, and she has this, if they were moving heavy lamps and putting in light bulbs themselves. And then she goes back to this. Everything with a man's job is lamps, putting in light bulbs. Let me see if I could get to some of this. I'm trying to show you just a wide variety, so you get her voice and noisy. Well, you're going to hear a lot of it. Jennifer, I'm sorry. If I knew that, Jennifer, so I love Jennifer Ray's comments. If I knew that, Jennifer, I would have dubbed it for you. But here it's like she's playing it, not speaking English as well as she does other places. Her grammar may be better than mine.
And it's silly. Alhamdulillah.
Why is it silly though?
It's silly because I still feel as I want to be treated well, and to be treated well, it means you're gonna open the door for me. I want that, and if you want to take me further than you're gonna pay for, I want that. In the same way, I can one day take you out for dinner too. It's like, honey, today is on me. Doesn't matter. But I don't need to be against. I don't need to be against acts of kindness to be feminist.
Right. So she says that she used to pay Dutch her own dinner and she didn't want men to open doors for her. Now she accepts it. Oh, it's like the most superficial view. They talk about being equal to men as being identical to men. They sort of, this is a common thing, that women try to be identical to men, essentially is what they're saying, but they're using the word equality. It goes on and on and on. But there you get an idea. And she's saying, alhamdulillah, alhamdulillah, after every other sentence here, not in any of the interviews she did anywhere else. So that's one face. I think we're going to take a break from her. I'm going to come back to her. I'm going to do a little and then give you, just for those that are just annoyed with her voice, we will get back to her because you have to hear all of it. I mean, all of the interviews. But I want to take just a little bit of a pause for those that are annoyed with her voice. It's going to be a little scattered, but here is the witnesses in the O'Keefe case talking about, this is talking with Matt Goodman of all people. No one was more of an innocence fraudster than Matt Goodman, but they decided to go right to Matt Goodman. Terrible mistake. You know, if you talk to smaller channels, it doesn't have to be mine, although I would love to talk to any of these witnesses behind the scenes or on the air, whatever, just talk behind the scenes. I just know a lot about this fraud. I happen to be an expert in it when it comes to innocence fraud. If you talk to smaller channels that will give you the control, that will talk about the real evidence and will talk about all the evidence and not gaslight the audience with these broad strokes that don't have any meaning, bad investigation with no examples, for example. If you talk to people who give you control and talk about the actual facts of the case, the real hard-hitting facts of the case, and let you talk and give you control and let you talk about what you want to talk about, your interview will go out there. People will pick up on it. Your voice will be loud and clear, and it will be heard and have a punch, much better than talking to Matt Goodman, where he gives you 7.5 minutes and it comes and goes, like my father used to say, like a fart in the wind. I mean, I'm not saying it was a fart, but do you know what I'm saying? Like, comes and goes. The free Karen readers are going to just mock it. And the questions are so poor. And then I edited out a lot of Matt Goodman's talking points in here because it was just all free Karen Reed talking points. And I don't feel like magnifying them, and they're pointless. We know them all. But take a listen.
Welcome back. It's the murder trial that gripped the nation and split a community. While Karen Reed's supporters have celebrated her murder acquittal as justice, key players in that trial tell ABC News the way they've been treated is anything but fair. Here's ABC's Matt Gutman.
The criminal justice system has let us down at every turn, and yesterday was the final letdown. And that's why we're here, because there's nobody left to stand up for us.
Think real long and hard before you're a witness in a case, because no one protects you. And it's very, very sad.
For the first time, some of the key players in the Karen Reed trial sitting down for an exclusive interview. His friend, Jennifer McCabe, and her husband, Matt, former Boston police sergeant Brian Albert, and his wife, Nicole, and his brother, Chris Albert. All five of them pulled into the center of this high-profile case and now speaking out.
And I think the reason we all stayed quiet is because we were just witnesses. This is a thing that we had nothing to do with.
We did that.
They make some really good points. But when you put 5 minutes in a 7.5 minute interview, you put 3 minutes of Karen Reed propaganda talking points, it gets diluted. Your points, no matter, they said really, I know this interview had to be longer than 7.5 minutes. I know they probably gave an hour or two of their time to Matt Goodman, of all people, but it gets watered down. It just gets watered down, no matter how powerful they and how well they did with their talking points. And I know how hard it is to do that. You have to whittle down your ideas to 1 or 2 sentences, or 3 sentences, or 4 sentences.
Civic duty, came and told the truth. People turned this thing into a tailgate party, it looked like, some days. Board games, cornhole, cookouts. This is a guy that was murdered, and it's atrocious for that family.
Well, what they've done is they've dehumanized us to the sense where we're not real people. We're almost like caricatures. We're pawns.
Have each of you been called murderers? Like actual murderers?
Oh, yeah, on a daily basis.
Anybody who's touched this case has been called a murderer at some point.
And anyone who's friends with us support cop killers.
Yeah.
I'm just sad for John's family and what happened yesterday, and I feel like they didn't get justice.
I mean, that's how an innocence fraud campaign works. How do you get someone, and there have been good people who have been fooled. So they've managed to get on board all these people who are dark personalities, who are criminals themselves, or have criminals, or are team criminals. So they have that crew, but they've also fooled good people. So how do you get good people to back a campaign to help a killer evade responsibility for their murder? How you do it is you paint the people that are searching for justice and to hold them responsible as the real killer, the real villain, the corrupt, cruel, and that's how this crew has been painted. You have to say that they're doing something good, that it's a search for justice. And then one of the worst things that this campaign has done is to grab the victim moniker and to say that they're searching for justice for John O'Keefe. All roads lead to Karen Read. All roads lead to Karen Read. No one else. And whatever you want to say about the investigation in a nor'easter, they got the right person. They just underestimated Karen Read. And how clever and criminally minded she was. And she got an innocence fraud campaign going for herself and a witness harassment campaign. Now, why was the witness harassment campaign important? Well, it was important to shut up all the people, get them in a fear mode, get them to either take the high road. I thought this was absolutely, I don't know if the Commonwealth told them not to give interviews. I always felt it was the wrong thing to do. I think they would be better off talking to, even if they're small channels, my channel, any channel that knows the facts of this case, and will let them talk and let them have some control. It will get out there. Your voice will be echoed.
For him, and our lives just changed forever.
Why speak out now after the verdict?
We took what we thought was the high road. Right. Let the court do its job.
Possibly involving other members of law enforcement. Did John ever come in the house?
Never, no.
You never saw John O'Keefe in the house, right?
Never.
Never.
These are people in your own community.
Right, so when you hear this Juror 11 with a million different names and faces, aliases, talk, she says, well, maybe he got knocked out of his shoe, maybe he just got in the house and no one saw him. And she was really bothered that they objected to she knew somehow the garage was really important and the door to the garage was hidden from view. Why weren't they allowed to see the garage door? What was the Commonwealth hiding? So she was off into conspiracy theories and admitting to evaluating evidence that wasn't evidence. I mean, the whole conspiracy theory just came the whole innocence fraud campaign and the conspiracy mindset that goes with these campaigns just came flooding into the deliberation room. But their comments are really good. It's especially Brian Albert I thought was especially strong. Jen McCabe was good in this interview. It's just, you can hear, I mean, the questions aren't great that they're asked, and it's too short. And then there's all these free Karen Reed talking points in between.
Who believe the conspiracy theories, who believe that there were other law enforcement officials and agents involved in this. Why is it people in your own community who believe these conspiracy theories?
You do realize for this conspiracy to be true, it would take 30 to 50 people. You'd have to have multiple cops on 2 different police departments, multiple civilians, the medical examiner, firemen, EMTs, you name it. That's how preposterous and silly this is. And great question. I don't understand how people bought this.
Brian Albert says he and Nicole only found out about John's death when Jen McCabe, who is Nicole's sister, barged into their bedroom.
She was just upset, and I immediately thought something had happened to one of her children or one of my children, because why else is she in my bedroom at 6:30 in the morning right now?
And what did she tell you?
She said, John's out front. I think John's dead out front. I said, what the are you talking about, Jen? And I'm like, I didn't know.
You still didn't piece it
I
together.
didn't understand what she was talking about.
What do you mean? What's to piece together? John's dead outside. What would you think? You just woke up out of a deep sleep. You didn't piece it together in 30 seconds? What kind of question is that from Matt Goodman? You didn't piece it together? What would he piece together? That Karen Reed backed into him with her car going 24 miles an hour in reverse with her foot 75% down on the gas pedal, and then took a glance at it, maybe out of her window, I don't know, but clearly took a glance at him and thought that he looked mortally wounded and sped away and started the cover-up. You didn't put that together in the first 10 seconds of your waking up? What is this? What is this? That's what they teach in journalism school?
Well, because why would John be out front of my house?
So massively confusing. There are police officers, EMTs on your front lawn. You're an officer. Why don't you just go outside and investigate or take a look?
I'm not a Canton police officer. I'm a Boston police officer. I was just woken up out of a cold sleep from hanging out the night before. By the time I came downstairs, the police were already in my house. John was already gone.
I thought the police never walked in the home and never questioned anyone in the house. What happened?
There was nobody to save. I would have taken a bullet for John O'Keefe because he was a fellow cop. That's the most ridiculous question that people always ask. It made zero sense. What am I supposed to do? Run out front in my underwear and start running yellow tape around the fire hydrant?
Yeah, that's what the $250,000 investigation that the Free Karen Readers got the town of Canton to pay for said that they should have put crime tape around in a blizzard and manned it. I mean, that's the great advice, the sage advice that they paid for. Not only did they couldn't get the time correct. So this is the point I've been trying to make, and I don't know if I've been making it well. So for those in the back, someone just asked, can innocence fraud campaigns be headed off with another kind of PR campaign? Yes. And if you want to look at a really successful one, I've showed this one before. I'm sorry to keep talking about the same. But to quote Karen Reed, sunlight is the best disinfected truth. Because there was never, you get a really good website going with factual information and court documents. So everything that you say is proven and linked to. You have the top 10 Karen Reed talking points all answered with facts on there and links. The Justice for John O'Keefe website, although I think well-intentioned, was useless. And you have to bring the victim's family to the forefront. Also, another problem, and I don't know, these are all rumors because we haven't heard this from the family themselves or the witnesses themselves. is that a lot of these witnesses, this has certainly been the rumor out there, have signed to Gretchen Voss, who really started a lot of this, who started this with her article in Boston Magazine, the Free Karen Reed propaganda. And that's the narrative, that Karen Reed was so shocked and went looking for him. You hear all that all the time, that Karen Reed went looking. No, she went pretend looking for him. She knew where he was. She led the witnesses and her audience and the other people that she was going to blame for her crime to the crime scene, and acted like she found him. That was an act. She wasn't really looking for John that morning. Anyway, Gretchen Voss has a Netflix show, and a lot of the rumor is that a lot of these witnesses in the family have signed with Netflix and that they're not allowed to give interviews. And what I said before this and before trial, and I hope I said it during trial, is that they should have talked. What is Netflix going to do? They're going to really sue the victim's family for a violation of contract? That's not going to look good. What are they going to do if they give interviews to other people? I really felt that they should have given interviews, if they could, as much as a family and as a group. So they can. It's very powerful. Victims' voices are very powerful. And that's why Karen Reed started this villainization of them straight away with, they're white trash. John's family is horrible. They're terrible. And David Yannetti was cheering it on, writing Turtle Boy, great reporting, loved it. Loved that episode where you vilify the O'Keefe family and swear at them and bully them. So, yeah, it would have been, I think, much more effective to have the truth, have a good timeline out there that people can use, have a place where people can go to head off this narrative. But even people on this side of the fence were like Karen Reed apologists going, well, she was so drunk. She didn't know it was manslaughter. She didn't know she hit him. Accident. It was just all a misunderstood accident. When clearly the facts of the case don't back that up. Even if so, it's still second degree. It's not manslaughter. So I think some of those voices were like a hindrance, not a help.
In the course of the night, Reed called and texted John 52 times. She then called Jen asking for help to find John. Karen previously telling me she and John had gotten into an argument that night.
To find John. This is the whole thing. Find John, like she didn't know where he was. Just didn't know where he was. She knew exactly where he was. She knew exactly where to go. No one else saw him. Kicking the door, let me out, let me out. Ran to him, jumped on top of him, pulled up her shirt, pulled up John O'Keefe's shirt, and rubbed herself on him. No fear of a dead body. What kind of behavior is that? Hey, Tammy, RG and Mods, chat, fraudster, innocence fraud. I experienced so strange. I knew why. Former 30 years athletic competition team to defeat, well-versed in how to accept it. But you're having a hard time accepting this, that the innocence fraud campaign won. The fact that I said that this might be a not guilty verdict, that saved you from total disappointment. Yeah, I wasn't so sure. It doesn't have to do. It's just it's a very weird feeling. Thank you, Tammy. To see, I thought both trials were very convincing. And to see it go so well, and then see this verdict that's totally opposite than what you just witnessed and what you spent 8 hours a day watching for the past 2 months or how long. It's an odd feeling. I know. It does feel like evil won.
Would you say that you were angry with John that night?
Yes.
Could you have been
angry enough and slightly drunk because he had annoyed you that in the fit of rage you just backed up and
Never.
tried to tap him.
Would
Not to
never
try to kill him, but try to...
tap him with my 6,000-pound full-size SUV.
No one said you tapped him. I mean, how do you tap someone? You can clip someone at 24 miles an hour in reverse, but how do you tap someone at... Do you see the minimizing language that she's using slyly? Did I tap him? No, never. And that's the other thing that I didn't understand in both trials. Both Adam Lally and Hank Brennan presented Karen Reed as this like nice person who just got really angry and hit John, maybe by accident, when they didn't show her. I mean, the reason why I thought the plumber was important to show Karen, because it shows her manipulation. So if you don't know Richie the plumber, she's supposed to come out to the bar and they're waiting for her. She says, "Oh, I have a plumber over." John worked as a plumber. I believe his dad also knew plumbing. And they would have fixed it for free. She knew that would annoy him. John O'Keefe told Michael Camerano that he was annoyed that Karen Reed didn't ask him to fix her plumbing that night. He said so on the stand this trial. But Hank Brennan never asked the other question to the police officer who had all of Karen Reed and John's text messages. So this is all in the text messages. "I'm waiting for Richie the plumber to fix my rusty pipe part. He says he's going to come back tomorrow. He's gone to Home Depot. He'll be back mañana," she says. And John O'Keefe's saying there's a big storm coming. Nobody's going anywhere tomorrow. And the next question would be obvious on the stand to that police officer who had all the text messages, Trooper Garino, is to ask, were there any messages between Karen and her plumber? It's like the Commonwealth was protecting Karen Reed's reputation, not just the defense team. It was odd. And I think the point of that was to say that the Commonwealth didn't single out Karen Reed. Everyone liked Karen Reed. No one is framing Karen Reed. But if you don't understand Karen Reed's personality and why she really did things, instead they all went with this. She was jealous, Bella's mom, ridiculous narrative that I never bought. There's no evidence that John O'Keefe was talking to Jen McCabe on speakerphone or that Karen Reed even heard about passing Bella's mom's house. And that's what tipped her off. I think that chances are that they could have been fighting about the plumber. They could have been fighting about, mostly they fought about John's niece and nephew. There's another rumor that came out that, I don't know, have you heard this? That the story, lo and behold, of John being upset about this Karen feeding the kids Dunkin' Donuts that morning was really about Karen Reed driving drunk or over the limit with them in the car. So, I've never bought that Dunkin' Donuts. Karen spoils them too much. They're going to get used to it, blah, 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 every day. But there was major tension. He had asked her to leave twice. We don't hear about Kaylee's testimony. You notice that the juror, number 11, isn't talking about the niece's testimony at all, where Karen was asked to leave twice and wouldn't. I mean, the best thing that I thought Hank Brennan did in his closing, although it was going to make no difference if there was 3 Karen Reeders on the jury, was to say that she came back for the last word as she had to, the same way when John O'Keefe, so he was a diffuser. He walked away from the argument and she moved towards it. So he moved away from the argument and closed the door to his bedroom, and she came up to the bedroom pounding and wanting to continue the argument, and her backing up was a way to continue the argument. Not only that, I think it was a way to teach him a lesson and to make him suffer for the crime of dumping her. I think it was over. He kept saying, according to the niece, that the relationship had run its course. So back to this interview with Matt, innocence fraudster Matt Gutman.
To
hit John's body with my car, no.
I spoke with a juror tonight who told me she believes a collision did not occur.
Overall, a lot of the evidence had caused reasonable doubt, and that was enough for us not to convict.
A little after 6 a.m., Karen found John's body in the snow. Jen called 911.
911, what's your...
Again, she didn't find him. She led her witnesses to the body and her marks and the people that she had to mix it all up. Otherwise, it's just Karen Reed there. I mean, who are you going to blame? Karen Reed. She didn't bring Jen McCabe and Carrie Roberts to her murder scene. And it was her way of informing the police, and she got Jen to call 911. She never called 911. Thought that could have been stressed more too. I think it's really key. Everything's done by proxy. So she'd have plausible deniability. Even the murder itself was done via the car. Oh, I didn't see him there. I don't know. It's really hard to prove murder with a car when you back into someone purposefully. We know what it means when you have a 75% throttle or 74.5% throttle, meaning your foot is 74.5% down on the gas pedal in reverse. But why did she do it in reverse? To have that deniability. I didn't see him backing up. Anger, as Hank Brennan said, anger could be inferred. Obviously, you can infer a lot from those that she meant to do it. If you're just backing up, there's no need to go 24 miles an hour, no matter how angry you are. And if she told her father, I felt I struck something, and I wished he had been called to the stand and his clips played, I felt I struck something that night. I mean, felt, and then he changes it, I think I struck something. Well, you feel it, meaning she felt when she hit John O'Keefe, she felt it move through her whole car.
There's a man passed out in the snow.
Hello?
But what raised eyebrows at Reed's trial was a defense theory about a Google search Jen had made about how long it takes to die in the cold. The defense claiming she searched it before O'Keefe's body was found.
So much has been made about that Google search that morning. Was it at 6 a.m. or was it at 6:27 a.m.? How long to die in the cold?
There's another little gaslighting from Matt Goodman. The defense didn't even counter that point. Didn't put on any witnesses, tried to poke holes, but couldn't. They had two really strong experts, and there was no experts nowhere in America for any money was any expert going to come on the stand and say that search, because they had to rewrite the whole program so that mistakes, meaning the Cellbrite program, which is the forensic data program that analyzes those searches. They said it was done at 6:23 and 6:24. 2:27 was the time the browser was done. There was a demonstration done by Ian Whiffen in court to show how an open browser can be confused for a time search. So he's like, was it done? Was it really done? Why is Matt Goodman, when the defense has long abandoned that argument, why is Matt Goodman keeping it alive? This is why you don't go on shows like this. Because it makes it look like it was an iffy case, an almost case, like maybe there was that they deserve to be harassed when they don't. And I wish that they had brought in all the things that Hank Brennan was promising to bring in. And I know it must have been very demoralizing going up against Judge Cannoni, who was really like another wing of the defense. Strangely, this juror thinks that she was for the Commonwealth because was she keeping a record? Does she have any proof? There's no proof attached to this. Like, I was taking notes, and she sustained this many Commonwealth objections, and overruled this many defense objections. There's no proof. It's just broad strokes, like everything out of her mouth for someone so detail-oriented and taking notes. But Judge Cannoni, I know it was must have been very demoralizing to have her let in ARCA after they lied to the first jury, let in these fraudsters, these innocent fraudsters, ARCA, that the defense lied about. There was no punishment whatsoever. Judge Cannoni basically showed her, took the mask off after the verdict and said it would be my pleasure to give Karen Reed the minimum. Really, why your pleasure? Really, why your pleasure? I mean, that's the real bias there.
What's your answer?
She asked me to do it at outside of Fairview at 6:20, whatever it was. Doesn't matter how much I say about it, people will not believe it.
The group also hoping to clear up rumors regarding the Albert's dog, Chloe, who had been rehomed after the incident. The defense claimed the dog was involved in O'Keefe's death.
Those wounds were inflicted as the result of a dog attack. Those marks are from teeth.
They've known for 2 years where Chloe is. The state shared it with them.
So if they wanted to take DNA...
Right. So she's bringing this dog attack, no dog DNA, none of that. Only points that the talking points that this juror wants to parrot are the talking points of Karen Reed. Solely. Nothing was even thrown in a little bit to make her seem somewhat. I think she did throw in one line. Oh, I thought Karen Reed might be guilty of manslaughter, maybe in the beginning. And that's also a technique that free Karen readers love to do. I thought she was guilty too until I saw meaning the why come arguments. Why come this? Why come that? Taillight can't be broken. No bruises, but he was beat up, but no bruises. I mean, none of it makes any sense in any cohesive way. Why did Brian Higgins and Butt Dial Colin Albert? Why come? Why come? I mean, I wish they showed Karen Reed for the pathological, dark personality, pathological liar, dark personality that she is. It's the only way that all this behavior makes sense. I mean, clearly, we thought that maybe they'd pick up on court her middle finger, giving the middle finger to witnesses, smirking during when John O'Keefe's autopsy photos were shown. Her total concern for anyone else but herself in her audio clips and video clips, but apparently not.
Evidence from Chloe the dog and match it to possible DNA evidence on John O'Keefe, they could have matched it.
Absolutely.
But now with the trial behind them, they say...
Why didn't they say, no, there was no dog DNA on John O'Keefe? They could have... Why? I don't know if this is an edited in another answer. Do these people have I know they're sequestered, so maybe they don't have a real grip on the facts of the case. No dog DNA was found. And I believe they had to put Chloe, sedate her to get her teeth impressions that didn't match this. I mean, that's another thing, Hank Brennan. I don't think it would have made a difference, but abandoned presenting was all these rebuttal witnesses.
They're still faced with threats against them and their families, but hope to continue calling this community their home.
You get down, you get depressed, and it's like, but this is the town we grew up in. We didn't do anything wrong.
We didn't do anything wrong. I don't know. Do you think they're thinking of moving? I'd be curious to know what people think. They have to live with this. Not only the grief, the trauma, but the villainization and the harassment. And to me, the harassment campaign was very important because I thought, why would an innocent person harass witnesses, especially if they don't know who did it? I mean, she's so sure originally, but then she goes from one witness to the next. So, hold on one second. Moving on back to, I thought that was a nice break from her annoying voice. We can get into John Jackson's interview with Vinny, but I do want to show you a few highlights. Here's her interview with the woman, the con artist woman. Speaks out with Sue O'Connell. And here's at the end here, she talks about in the beginning, I'll spare you it, but you're going to have to trust me. I'm not going to have time to play you. But she says, I didn't see anything. We didn't hear anything. So she's telling the interviewer, Sue O'Connell, what she didn't hear or didn't see. So she was asked whether she was influenced by the Free Karen Readers outside the courthouse or the Free Karen Read campaign. And she says, I didn't hear anything. We didn't see anything. So I take that as an admission in a negative, because when I ask you what you did this morning, you said, you wouldn't say, I didn't have a cup of coffee. I didn't take a walk in the park. I didn't, I don't know, brush my hair, whatever. You say what you did, not what you didn't do. So it's very telling. But here at the end, she goes into a litany of innocence, fraud, talking points about our justice system and corruption. Take a listen. This is Sue O'Connell's interview with Paula Prado.
Latin country, we know.
Juror number 11.
Brazil, we had many cases with corruption. I'm from Rio de Janeiro, is one of the most dangerous place in Brazil. And it speaks to me, this case, because it's injustice, it's police, corruption, and how many people are in jail right now because of a bad investigation.
Really? What was bad? No one has asked her what is bad about the investigation.
Because of a bias of a police officer or investigator, because of a bad system, because of...
The system doesn't work. It's unfair, systematically wrong. These are all the innocence fraud talking points that they've been put out time and time and time again. And I told you when I was a juror on a child predation case, and we just convicted this, we just settled on the final vote. The first vote was 11-1, and we turned the one not guilty person, so 11-1 guilty. One young guy stood up and said, there's a lot of wrongful convictions, but this isn't one of them. I felt like saying, dude, do you think that the jury convicts people because they're iffy on not a lot of evidence? Don't you think that every jury that convicts someone is as sure as we are? How do you know? And I asked, but I did say out loud, what are those wrongful convictions? Let's go through them. What are these so many wrongful convictions? So young people are being indoctrinated into this. This is the innocence fraud line of thinking about our justice system without knowing much about it.
Lack of money to have good lawyers like Alan Jackson's, Bob Alessi, and David Yannetti. So, and Dr. Leader, I don't want to forget her. She was very spot on. She didn't take the stand, but she was always there with the documents. Like, we found her work incredible. So the message is, let's continue fight for justice for John O'Keefe. We cannot let
Dr. Little? Is she talking about Melanie Little, or is she talking about someone else?
Corruption run the country in any level, police level, government level. We have the power. We are the people. We have the power, and we have.
So it must have made her feel very powerful to give the middle finger to the Commonwealth and to re-victimize John O'Keefe's family again.
To use this power, we need to get away of fake news, get away of no.
No, that's exactly what you did, is follow fake news. Not look at the evidence.
And social media, look for the root of the problem, look for real journalists, real news.
No, that's what you did. You followed these innocence fraudster journalists. I think all before the trial, watched the first trial, followed all these people before this.
Real information and fight and continue complaining and protest and do what needs to be done for a better society. I have young children, so I wanted them to grow up in a better place, in a safer place.
Do you have a message for the...
Okay. I'm going to spare it. Then she's asked by, I thought this was strangely a rare good question just because the answer was so telling. A rare good question by disingenuous douche and fraudster himself, Vinnie Politan, who said before publicly he thought Karen Reed is guilty and walked around celebrating with the free Karen Readers, interviewing all of them and putting out these talking points and covering it like it was a real whodunit. Just for more clicks and views. He asks her, this is Juror 11, Paula Prado, gaslighter and con artist, this woman extraordinaire, what she would say to Karen Reed. Take a listen. She wanted to know why Brian Higgins. First she said, she caught herself. At one time she said, she was curious why Proctor didn't testify, but then she kind of like went back, but I didn't need him to testify. His text messages were enough. Like, she doesn't even get a little into anything critical of the defense or Karen Reed. She's asked what she would ask Karen Reed if she met her and talked to her. Take a listen.
Okay, imagine that Karen Reed is with you in a room. What questions do you have for Karen Reed?
How can you be so calm all the time? Honestly, that's shocking to me. First of all,
She's a psychopath. She doesn't have any empathy for anyone else but herself. That's how. Problem solved. Or question answered, maybe better way to put it.
sorry that she went through this whole thing, and I want to hear from her, like, how she maintained herself so calm and so present and so participative in the whole trial, how she maintained herself so.
Right, when things were so terrible for her, for you. She doesn't ask the O'Keefe family how they did that, sitting less than a foot away or 2 feet away, whatever, however, very close from their sons and their brother's murderer, how they kept so calm. It's all Karen Reed's great triumph.
Firm all the time, honestly.
Do you have any questions of her about what happened that night?
I think she said enough about what happened, and if I had a chance to talk to her.
Yeah, I don't want to hear any more incriminating words out and contradictory words out of her mouth. She's answered enough. Yeah, every time. Don't remind me of the things that she said incriminating herself, like he didn't look mortally wounded. Of course, I said I hit him, but did I say it as many times as the Commonwealth said I did? Things like that. I don't want to hear those kind of things. Just tell me how great I am and is this? I don't remind me that she's a killer. I wouldn't want to make her talk about her murder.
So I wouldn't go on this subject at all. I want to know about her.
See, Karen, I don't want you to talk about the murder at all, because I know murderers are just people just like myself, dark personalities just like myself, con women, people who just get over on the system. We're just sisters. We're people who get over on the system. We already know how it feels to give the middle finger to the Commonwealth and to the victim's family. Isn't this telling?
I want to learn about her personality, her likes, her life, whatever, what she has to say to teach, to show us something for the future. I wouldn't ask about the past. That was draining for everybody. And imagine it for her, for O'Keefe's family.
Imagine for John O'Keefe's family. But that's not the point. She realizes now she's talking out both sides of her mouth. She was saying it was so hard for Karen, really hard for Karen. How did she keep it so together? She's such an amazing person. That's what she's saying. But never mind John O'Keefe's family. Yeah, but what about them? They're not important. I cried for them. And she loves to call them out and re-victimize them and just really twist the knife. And so the people that had negative things to say about her, she went under their X feeds. I mean, she's the original definition of a troll. So a troll is someone online who likes to poke the bear, needle people, say the opposite, get under people's skin, cause upset. That's her. This is her chance to really give the middle finger, cause upset to the O'Keefe family. And she's on Team Criminal. She relates to Karen Reed. It's so obvious. She's a Karen Reed. She would hope that if she were reversing 24 miles an hour in reverse, that she'd have someone like herself on her jury, help get her off. And that would be as good as she is and just PRing all the talking points. I mean, they could not have picked. I'd love to know what she said in her jury form. This will never be. Apparently, I don't know Massachusetts law. I keep hearing rumors that they can reverse this with jury misconduct like that. They can nullify this verdict, but I don't think they have any chance. I mean, how are you going to? What this brings to light is how are you going to pick a jury? And this is originally, I said in many, many episodes, the most important thing in this case is the picking of the jury. And because you have personalities like this that have a million different LinkedIn accounts and names and know how to deceive and will get in as stealth jurors, and with so many of them, and I mean, would it even be hard to do to say, pick me, I'm going to be there, I got a jury summons, hey, Turtle Boy, I'm going to be wearing red, tell the defense to pick me. I mean, it's just, it wouldn't matter if they nullify this, they're going to get the same result unless they move this to another state.
What happened that night was presented to us in court. She said many times on television, there is docuseries, there is documentary, there is interviews. I can find that online, no problem.
Oh, she goes, oh, I can find those. I've already found those. I already know what she's going to say about the murder. Yeah, you were showed them in court. You didn't seem to want to take that as evidence. There's, of course, the question that the jury asked, are Karen Reed's interviews evidence? With someone like Paula Prado telling other jurors, I'm a lawyer, I know that's not really evidence. And they were arguing about that. Was she gaslighting other jurors? Were they bullying other jurors? She said it was only 3 people who found them guilty. Is that true? I don't know. She's an unreliable narrator, hard to know. Here's John Jackson. You guys with me? Thank you, Wesley Loves Octoberfest, for gifting 10 memberships. Very generous of you. Appreciate it. Hey, Manny. I feel in a mild depression about the verdict. Yeah, it's a depressing subject. Innocence of fraud this big, and when they're successful, it's like the evil and lies winning. My family noticed but didn't know. I realized this is how our world works now, and just about everything wrong in our society is due to people like her. Yeah, innocence fraud is huge, bigger than ever. Like every year it gets bigger. I mean, so much so that there was a lawyer calling this innocence fraud true crime media content. I mean, if that, he's got a point. It is, there's, for every almost every YouTube channel has to do a little bit of innocence fraud, do at least. Apparently they're, even prosecutors' podcasts pushed out the innocence fraud narrative of T.M.U. Kenjinson. I don't know how to pronounce his name. You know what I'm talking about? That guy? And there's apparently now a good podcast called The Murder Sheet. Talks about that, got all the court transcripts and talks about his guilt. Dying to listen to that. But mostly curious or if they're trying to talk about an innocence fraud narrative, they won't talk about the fraud. They'll just talk about the person's guilt. I don't know. I mean, if this is the future of true crime media, we're in big trouble, because prosecutors won't even begin to prosecute someone with overwhelming evidence. I mean, I believe you could prosecute Karen Read with half the evidence. Well, so spare me this iffy case without the innocence fraud campaign. I'm not talking about with the innocence fraud campaign. You need all the evidence you can get, but without it, I believe Karen Read could have been prosecuted with half the evidence they had in this case. Kitties, thanks for going through this, Roberta. Yeah, thanks. All right, I'm not done yet. I hope you're all with me. I know this is a little long, but I have a lot to say. I took a couple nights off. Is everybody with me, or should I save this for another day? I hope so. I hope you're with me. I just want to go over one last thing before I go, which is John O'Keefe's friend was on Vinny, and he comes out swinging in the beginning and almost holds Vinny Politan accountable for all the innocence fraud he's pushed on his channel. And for that, so he comes right after Paula Prado's interview, a bit I've just played. Take a listen here. And then he pivots. I'm not exactly sure what happened here, but take a listen. Tell me what you think happened.
Jackson. He is a close friend of John O'Keefe. They were good friends since college. I can understand this can't be easy, but I need you to help us understand what it's like from the other side. That story hasn't been told enough. How are you personally handling what transpired and the verdict in this case?
That's the lead-in. That's the lead-in to this. That's the footage of the lead-in to this. That's Vinny. We saw you out there. We saw you with the pink tie. We saw you just bathing in the sea pink.
Slow down.
Yeah,
didn't wear a pink tie, John.
See, the problem is, he's like, I wear a red tie at every. So he's using the pink tie as an emblem of the way Vinny cheered on this conspiracy, innocence fraud campaign. I don't want to call it conspiracy theory, although the conspiracy mindset is key to innocence fraud campaigns, because there isn't they never have really good evidence, and they never have evidence that fits all together, and it does make you go into conspiratorial places, these innocence fraud campaigns. So whether it's making a murderer and they're having police plant evidence, or with no evidence of it, or whether it is Luke Mitchell and they're blaming the family members of Jody Jones's murder. It asks you to go into all sorts of conspiratorial places. And so he's using that as an emblem, basically saying he's using one example, and Vinny is disproving one example. So he's saying the pink tie, I was wearing a red tie, but that's not the point. And he's too upset and you're nervous when you're doing these live interviews on the spot to say, hey, no, it's not about that. It's about the position you took all through this, pretending it was a whodunit, promoting Karen Reed's innocence fraud campaign, cheering it on, playing to that audience at all, when you've already said on Melanie Little's podcast that you thought Karen Reed was guilty at least of manslaughter, and you know that it doesn't matter whether she did it by accident or on purpose. You just have to believe that she reversed in purposefully, which I think you do. Be awfully strange to reverse, and if you did reverse, say just because, let's take a Karen Reed talking point that she reversed 24 miles an hour in reverse by accident, right? That she didn't mean to. If you didn't mean to and you felt you hit something, which is what she told her father, you get out and call 911. And if she did see John O'Keefe, and here's another admission in the negative, not looking mortally wounded, meaning he looked mortally wounded. She told me what he didn't look like instead of what he looked like, which means he did look mortally wounded, and she drove away. Either way, you call 911, you get out and help. She immediately started covering up her crime. She didn't care. She said in an interview, I don't know why they didn't play this in court, that she never loved John O'Keefe, that they were only dating.
Didn't wear a pink tie,
So
John.
you hold it up. You held it up, right?
No, I
You
didn't. I held up a
because-
red tie, John. If you've watched me, if you've watched my career,
so
every verdict.
This is the way you go. This is the way you go. And so he feels badly about coming off angry. He should not feel badly about coming off angry. He's rightfully angry. He should say, it doesn't matter. You know what? Your red tie turned pink that day. You know what it came off as? It came off as bright pink because your tie took on your viewpoint, which was free Karen Reed, free this cop-killing murderer, psychopathic murderer at all costs because my career depends on it. I need the clicks and views. And it doesn't matter whether hey, guess what, Vinny? It turned pink. John Jackson, Brendan Kane, come talk to me. RobertaClass23@gmail. Send me a line. We'll talk. I've been studying these innocence fraudsters for 10 years. It's very human to back off and not want to come across angry. And then John Jackson compliments Vinny. See, Vinny's pushing him down and telling him he's wrong, that he's being unfairly. It's not about a pink tie or a red tie. It's about his coverage.
I wear a red tie, so
Your
I switched
career
from
is
the
interesting.
purple. From the purple.
The career is.
Guys are on the other end going, what? What is she looking at? Everybody with me? Everybody with me? We're all waiting for this moment with Vinny. Oh, my law.
Okay, this is the way it's going to go. Let's
the career
go.
is fantastic. The career is fantastic. Look, up until this case, we all watched you.
Really? You really need to say that you were great up until this case? Those are the cases that you're getting the information from Vinny. You think this is the first time Vinny has pushed innocence fraud? You're getting the info from him. I will guarantee you this is not the first time Vinny has pushed the innocence fraud campaign of a guilty killer. Pre-trial, post-trial, whatever. Guarantee you.
We all did. We all watched, any case that had any kind of interest to us, we watched. But I just watched that interview with that juror. Well, I was here to talk about something completely different. And it's unfortunate because...
Okay, let's talk about whatever you want to talk about, John. I'll give you an opportunity. It's not a problem.
I can't believe what I just heard from that. I just watched the show, so I can't believe what I just heard that juror say. So many things. I mean, I just went over it. I couldn't believe what I was listening to. It believes the dog bite theory, but they didn't really present it at trial. Those are her words. Barros. She talked about Officer Barros.
Right, exactly. She's listing off free Karen Reed talking points, one after the other. And that Karen Reed would make a great lawyer, which is strangely, wasn't that just the clip of Alessi that was played? Am I wrong about that? right before the verdict that Alessi's daughter released that tape of Alessi from before the trial where he's saying Karen Reed would make I thought he was saying Karen Reed would make a great lawyer. Correct me if I'm wrong.
She apparently missed the cross-examination, although she did hat tip to Mr. Hank Brennan for his cross-examinations. But hey, look, I'd love to talk about Johnny.
John, let me give you an opportunity. You can talk about whatever you want. As a guest on this show, you can talk about whatever you want right now. You've got the microphone. We've got the.
You know, and Vinny has this charisma about him, and he can play dumb, and he can talk out of both sides of his mouth so fast you barely know what's going on. John Jackson is just racked with grief and anger. It's really, and he's talking to, let's not forget also that Vinny's a lawyer, trained to argue and play both sides. So, I mean, he doesn't have a chance. Why go on this show? And look how much time, I mean, he's given what? A few minutes? Go on a show where you can really talk and have control and tell stories about John O'Keefe. Bring him to life. We've all heard that he was selfless and that he took care of the kids. That's pretty much the only thing we know about John O'Keefe. Tell us funny stories. Tell us details. Enrich us. Turtle Boy said it sounds like John Jackson never really knew John O'Keefe. Because when the opportunity comes, he's too upset. He can't even, I don't know what. Tell us the stories. Tell us the details. Tell us something that's really emblematic of who he was as a person, your experience with him. All those details are really important and really rich. And we hear tons of little details about Karen Reed. Boy, did we ever. She irons her clothes and how long her sleeves are. And we never heard about her sister, though. Never heard about her sister that's excommunicated herself from the family or been excommunicated. I kind of think it's the former. But here's Vinny. I mean, don't go on these shows, these innocence fraud shows. Go on a show where you can talk facts. Put out the facts. Karen Reed's guilt. We can talk about facts, not talk about Karen Reed's conspiracy theories and innocence fraud talking points.
The camera. You have a question for me? For you want to talk about the juror, the way she saw the case? That's fine. You've answered my question that I have already. I sense that you are absolutely livid. You're unhappy. There's a sense of anger. So my question's answered.
Yeah.
I'll give you an opportunity to talk about whatever you want to talk about.
So let me just run through it. Okay, it's been a couple days. So the first couple days, you know, obviously.
Oh my gosh, Vinny just Jedi mind tricking him. This is also something Paula Prado's husband, who I think is some kind of therapist, counselor, something like that, does, which is active listening. So he's spitting back. You're angry. You're upset. So the other person feels heard. So he's diffusing the situation without John Jackson even knowing it. Yeah, I'm angry. Yeah, but say why you're angry. We had a free Karen Reeder con woman talk her way onto the jury of my friend, of a cop killer, a woman who conned her way onto the jury and was watching everything, considering things that weren't even evidence. So oddly, right out of the gate, she's like an encyclopedia. Hey, Kitty. Kitty's even upset. Of every free Karen Reed talking point. Isn't that odd for someone who watched nothing, knows nothing? Right, Kitty? He's rubbing his face on the computer. Okay.
We were all together when the verdict came out, and it was rough, man. It was, you know, you sat through the whole case, and You watch everything come and go, all the evidence come and go. And look, to us, the prosecution put on a good case. And to us, that data from her car and from Johnny's cell phone told the whole story, right? So we're not hearing too much about that right now from these jurors. I'm a little surprised. Look, I came out that night. I said, look, we respect the jury's decision. I mean, that's how it is, and it's okay. That's the process. I'm to be honest, I'm stunned at what I just saw. I mean,
That's not the process. The process was corrupted. The process is 12 untouched by the Innocence Fraud Campaign jurors with no bias. Evaluate the evidence, not the evidence shown in court, not evaluate the documentary, evaluate every Free Karen Read podcast, TV show, YouTube show. So the process was corrupted. This wasn't the process. This was a fraud upon the court. You don't have to respect that.
kind of where I'm at. I wasn't really there until I just saw that interview, and it kind of put me there. It is literally like the social media side of this and the blogging side of this and the law tuber side of this just came out of that juror's mouth.
Right, exactly. It's not as if. It's every free Karen Read talking point. But you're not going to win with Vinnie Politan, with people like Vinnie Politan or Sue O'Connell or Matt Gutman. Professional innocence fraudsters, and they won't ask the right questions, and they're not going to let you talk because there's just not the time.
I'm actually stunned.
I mean, Vinny makes a big deal at the end of this interview going, we're going to push the commercial 2 minutes. Whoopie-dee, 2 minutes. You're going to push the commercial because we really want to hear from you. I mean, they are so manipulative, these hosts. The more manipulative you are, the better you'll do on YouTube is what I've observed. Oh, that's why I think Paula Prado's got a career ahead of her.
Done. I was calm. I wasn't here, but I can't believe I just heard it. It kind of put me in a position, and I'm sorry, didn't mean to start off that way. And then
hey, John,
the video.
your emotions are real. You're entitled to your emotions.
Of course they are.
This is an incredible loss. And I've seen cases of not guilties before. I know it can be crushing. I know it can create anger. And I just want to hear it. I want to hear your side of this. So hearing what we heard from juror number 11 tonight and the way things went down, where do you point blame anywhere for why this result came out, a result that you don't believe in at all?
Yeah, I point blame at Karen Read and her enablers and the Innocence Fraud Campaign and the witness harassment campaign that she started. Point blame, I don't know if it's true, at everyone who signed up, anyone who had knowledge of Karen Read's guilt, to a Netflix show that's going to be a flop anyway. That's going to come out after the second trial. What good is that? If you're going to have it's not a bad idea to have a documentary that shows the facts of the case and from a guilty side. It's not a bad idea to have a documentary. Get it out before the second trial. What is the point of having it come out besides Gretchen Voss making money and Kate Peter or whatever else I've heard is connected to it? Correct me if I'm wrong. Forgive me if I'm wrong. What's the point of it? And what's the point of it to have people, who do think she's guilty, with bigger platforms than me, saying, yeah, I don't think she knew what she was doing. Maybe it was an accident. Maybe it was manslaughter. She snapped. She just snapped all of a sudden. And putting out all sorts of disinformation, glass throwing, wild imaginations. They're as bad as the other side, or attacking people's looks. And just stick to the facts. Stick to the facts. All those facts and details are important, which is why I work really hard, and I get very disappointed at myself when I get something wrong. I try to correct it right away. It's really important to put out a true narrative out there.
Obviously, there's a couple places we'd like to put some blame, but let me start off again. We respect the process, right? If the process is fair, if there's no fingers on the scale, we respect the process.
It's too vague. What are the fingers on the scale? This was a fraud upon the court. You got to use really strong language. A murderer, a woman got away with murder of a cop, my friend's son, a family was betrayed due to people who wanted to get rich and wanted to build their YouTube platforms by pushing out a fantasy innocence fraud narrative for a killer. Say it as strong as you can say it. You won't come off as angry. You'll come off as real. Be real. Let's get real. This was a fraud upon the court.
And the jurors spoke. So that's it, right? I mean, we understand that's it. But what we don't appreciate is the narrative that got away from us pretty early was a false narrative. So, trial 1, trial 2, both of them.
Got away from you because you all, and I begged you everybody to come out and give interviews. The family, give interviews, especially the family, because there's nothing more powerful. But all of you, give interviews. Get out there. They told you, the Commonwealth told you to be quiet. Bad. The courts, when you're dealing with an innocence fraud campaign, the courts won't handle it. There was no counter campaign. There was no pushback. That's how it got away from you. It didn't just slip away from you. I mean, I can't say there was no pushback, but there's like me, Innocence Fraud Watch, a few,
And the popularity of the movement grew. And as the movement grew, it drew in more and more media types, traditional media, new media, drew them all in, and they went and chased the clicks, and they chased the likes, and they chased the popularity, which is
right. You're describing an innocence fraud campaign. And they're also ideologically aligned with it. The lawyers love it. They love to see a murderer get away with it. They love to give the middle finger to the defense lawyers, love to give the middle finger to the Commonwealth. They love, and getting rich on it. What's better? Clicks and views, and getting more power. More audience is more power. I mean, more clicks, more views. Great. It's describing the innocence fraud without using the word. Words already been invented. Phrases already been invented. Get it out.
Which is fine. That's what they do. But what we feel is that at some point, I mean, look outside that courthouse, right? The family heard the cheers. Brother, friend, son. They heard the cheers, and it was devastating, right? So,
cheers literally came in the courtroom and drowned out the jury foreman. Oh my gosh, I'm burying the lead. Guess who the jury foreman was friends with? Guess who he was friends with? The Boston Bombers. So we didn't have a shot. He's saying the same thing. Flawed investigation, corrupt police. He's calling out the whole innocence fraud narrative. Aurora's, he's like team criminal. Aurora's Gladius, thanks for becoming a member. So I can't believe I buried the lead. Sorry, guys. Yeah. Hope everybody's listening to this. I'm sorry. Sorry, this is so long, but it's important.
The media needs to take responsibility for their part in this. I'm not saying it was totally there, but for their part in this, for allowing themselves to choose sides, for allowing themselves to be part of the fuel.
You can't even get Vinny to apologize, and he's sitting right in front of you. The media is never going to apologize. They're going to hop on the next one. Did you miss Making a Murderer? Did you miss Adnan Syed? Did you miss Amanda Knox? Did you miss Marty Tankleff? Did you miss Luke Mitchell? Did you miss the Julius Jones coverage? Did you miss, I mean, I could go on and on. Did you miss the All-Story Simon, Anthony Porter story? Where you been, John Jackson? Vinny's still saying Sacco and Vanzetti, the case 100 years ago, that they were two immigrants who were wrongfully given the death penalty. Not true. Guilty as hell. But guess what happened there? Innocence fraud campaign. Done by an author 100 years ago. He said he was embedded himself in the defense team. The defense lawyer said, I've already gotten false alibis. Got it all hooked up. Yeah, these guys are guilty as hell. And he says, well, I have to write a book about innocence because that's what the public expects and wants. Upton Sinclair, Boston. That was the book about Sacco and Vanzetti. He embedded himself in the defense team and pushed out this idea of wrongfully accused immigrants. And now it's in our history textbooks. The fact is they were guilty as hell. 12 jurors voted to convict them. Appeals process upheld it. But, I mean, that's still going on. I mean, where you been? They're not going to apologize. They're not going to take ownership for this. They're going to move on to the next, whoever the next one is. Whether it's Luigi Mangione or someone else, or Brian Kohberger, they're all going to jump on the next fraud campaign, innocence fraud campaign. We saw what happened. The Idaho, luckily, the cameras were kept out of the courtroom. Another smart decision. Doesn't help. In that case, and Richard Allen was convicted, but he had his own little innocence fraud campaign. People are still boo-hooing about him and his false confessions, all, 60-something of them?
For that fire that caught and wound up outside of that courthouse. So yeah, some of the blame goes there.
So go ahead. No, continue. I don't want to cut you off. I thought you were done. Continue.
Look, so the problem is for us too. We've lived this for 3.5 years, and we've every piece of evidence that came in, both sides. We can be objective about it and say when things went poorly for us and when things went well for us, and it just even when things went well for us. I mean, again, Juror 11 here. There was. Look, Ms. Hank Brennan, Adam Lally, Attorney McLaughlin, they put on a good case, and it's unfortunate because I'm looking now. This doesn't look like it ever had a chance. It doesn't. A couple of other jurors have spoken to, and I wasn't going to go there with this, but that I can't even. Literally raw emotions are coming out here, so that's not where I wanted to go tonight. I wanted to be calm and talk about Johnny and the pain that this family is definitely experiencing.
So Yeah, and we've heard from other jurors that are speaking. Do you at all look at the investigation itself, the way things were handled that night? Sure. I know there was a nor'eastern coming in.
What was Idaho? What was Idaho for? What was that? What do you think the cause was there? False confessions? I don't know. That's. I'm not saying nobody ever falsely confesses. I just think it's really rare. I certainly don't think anyone falsely confesses under all sorts of different, no pressure, having hardly any risk factors or none 63 times.
I know that is difficult, but it's Massachusetts,
Or however many times it was. I'm sorry. It was a lot with Richard Allen. Excuse me for not remembering the exact. It depends on also who's reporting it. I've seen a bunch of different figures thrown around. So if anyone knows the exact number of times Richard Allen confessed, let me know.
Not securing the scene, other things that were pointed out to the jury, because they kept saying to me, not just this juror, but other jurors, holes in the investigation. There were holes in the investigation.
Sure. I can address that, sure. So again, me personally, I'm not speaking for anybody else here, but I will say that, the investigation found the right person. My personal opinion is that maybe, especially with a police officer involved, maybe a little more follow through, dotting the I's, crossing the T's, and I'm being, I'm softening it a little bit. But am I happy with the investigation? No. But did they come up with the right person? Yeah. Yes. Right. So the evidence in this case points to one person, or one person only. And we've followed the social media, we've followed the online stuff and all the other media, and it, the reality is,
get to the evidence. See, even Vinny, he's got him all in knots now. How am I coming across? What am I doing? Just tell the evidence. Tell all the evidence. It's very telling. Go through it. Now's your chance, John Jackson. Go through it. Filibuster this interview if you have to. Go through it. But you'd be much better talking to someone who understands the evidence and would ask you questions about evidence of Karen Reed's guilt. And all the evidence, we would go over it piece by piece, all the evidence that the jury ignored. And just put the word bad investigation with really nothing to back it. Biased police. How exactly did his text show bias towards Karen Reed when her taillight pieces are all over the crime scene and she's saying, I did it. I hit him. This is all my fault. I mean, people forget that admission. But Karen Reed, this is all my fault. That's taking it all on herself.
The wrong narrative still exists. The wrong narrative is still out there. That they're talking about third-party culprits, and it's all nonsense.
Not the wrong narrative, the fraud narrative. The fraud narrative is being pushed by the fraud you're talking to.
One person did this. We know it. We've known it since the beginning. And you want to talk about the investigation? I understand. Look, beyond a reasonable doubt is the standard. We get it. And we can have an honest conversation about whether or not.
They proved it 50 times over. I mean, her broken taillight, you think it's just an accident? You think Karen Reed is really that unlucky that she broke her taillight that night? She didn't break it bumping into his love tapping his car at 5:08 in the morning. She broke it purposely driving her car into John O'Keefe going 24 miles an hour in reverse. And I know that Karen Reed wants to talk about all these things that you should see, you know, free Karen readers. Why come no bruises? Why come? Have you ever seen the video of the two twins who run into cars and get hit by cars and are running around? No bone breaks, a highway with cars going massive. Have you ever seen those? that tape? Not everything looks like your wild imaginings. He got hit on the side, he got thrown, and his head hit the ground. The cold, hard ground, which is like cement when it's that hard and frozen.
Beyond a reasonable doubt, you know, the threshold was met here. I believe it was. But if you want to talk about specifically maybe the collision, whether or not a collision happened, I mean, you can have that argument. I think in totality, the evidence shows, yeah, it happened. But if you want to have like an honest conversation about whether that happened and whether they proved it or not, I think they did. If a juror came out and said, look, I just don't believe in a collision, fine. But when they come out and they say things like, it wasn't 100%, you know, instead of, if it was 99, then you can't convict. I mean, not understanding reasonable doubt, totality of the evidence, not understanding that their job. I mean, they say they understood their job, but they didn't get it, or at least that one, I should say.
Right.
So yeah. Again, investigation found the right person. I would have liked a little more follow through, but maybe things will change because of this case, right? You would hope that when investigations happen now, they would have to sort of foresee that maybe a wealthy defendant would be able to purchase the circus, you know? So that's how I see it. So yeah, if you want to have an honest discussion about reasonable doubt, I could probably get on board with that. But the other stuff, she said, this last juror talked about the dog bites. Barros, she never listened to Hank Brennan's. I mean, Aperture was unprofessional. I mean, look, you say what you want, but you know, you can go after the individual if you want.
What about Barris's cross, where he admitted that there was no change? So you have to say what it is about his cross. So on cross, he admitted that there was no difference in the taillight condition than in the Sally port than when he saw it. He was demolished on cross. Why is she saying he's such a powerful witness? Where was she in the cross where he said, he was basically like he said, never mind. It's odd, but you have to re-prosecute the case because this is why all the details of the case are so important. Is that what Karen Reed supporters and Karen Reed have done successfully is paint broad brushstrokes on all of it that say bad investigation, bias, corruption, nothing to support it, just words. They've just thrown words on it. Remind people what the overwhelming at half evidence is against Karen Reed. It's not an iffy case. It's not what happened? Oh, we don't know. I love this idea that we don't know what happened unless we were there to witness it. We weren't there, so I don't know. Maybe something improbable might have happened. I don't know. I wasn't there. I'm not going to say, you know, she murdered her cop boyfriend because I wasn't there. I mean, is that the new standard of evidence? We have to be there. We can't infer from the evidence. That's it. We're in big trouble. That's where innocence fraud has taken us to, a mindset where now the state's burden is not just beyond any reasonable doubt, meaning you can have a doubt, but you can have an unreasonable doubt. Doubt has to be reasonable, likely, possible, conforms with the evidence.
But Shannon Burgess, he found the chip that put the data, that put her car there. She was the one who drove the car forward 30 and change feet and then reversed and another 50 feet at a high rate of speed. Even that juror said, she said it. She says she doesn't know what, maybe she hit him, but then he went in the house after with his socks on. I mean, oh my.
With one shoe on and nobody saw him, and He was beat up in the garage, and she would have liked to hear from Brian Higgins. What was Brian Higgins doing? He was moving cars around. Even if they presented, so you go, oh, well, maybe you can't take these things seriously. Well, maybe I should have presented Brian Higgins as a witness. Then they would have said, he would answer what he was doing, moving cars before a storm and getting his messages on his phone or whatever the heck he was doing. Not warming up for a murder or a post-murder. I mean, who goes and moves cars around for a snowstorm after a murder? They want to go right to the police department after a murder? Come on. And if he got beat up, how did he not have any bruises on his body? That's what you're saying. I mean, his brain was bruised. Does that count? No, that doesn't count. Okay. I don't know. I mean, it's all ridiculous. I think we've done it. Let me just see. We're right at the end here. Let me just finish up with John Jackson.
Oh my God. He didn't have a shot. There was never a shot here. And so the emotions you hear now is I'm trying.
Why wasn't there a shot? You have to you just articulate yourself. Karen Reed's innocence fraud campaign was what decided this case, not the facts. We didn't have a shot because the Karen Reed and the media's pushing out Karen Reed's fraud talking points were what decided this case. And no, I don't respect this verdict, just the way I don't respect the O.J. Simpson verdict.
Transitioning away from the grief and the disbelief. We're pragmatic about it. We understood that this could happen, but this is not what we expected. We expected a more deliberate jury, I guess, would be.
Not deliberate. They were deliberate. They did it on purpose. They were deliberate. You expected an impartial jury that would look at the facts of the case and not Karen Reed's innocence fraud campaign? Not so. Okay.
Be the best way to say it.
John, and there are commercials and there are segments in a show.
Sure.
But
sure.
I want to extend this segment and give you an opportunity. Again, is there any other area that you would want people to know about tonight? Because I think your voice is an important voice in all of this.
See, I'm uplifting victims' voices. See what a great guy I am? I'm not a innocence fraudster. I'm not a free Karen Reed shill. Come on, look, I'm pushing the commercial a whole 2 minutes.
Sure. If you want me to stick around, or you want me to just do this now?
No, we're pushing the commercial. We're pushing it, so we're giving you a little extra time here. I'm sorry for the confusion.
Your thing, So yeah. No. Look. Let's just talk about the family for a moment, okay? Let's just talk about Johnny's family. They've been through a tremendous, and you hear it. You hear people say justice for John O'Keefe. The reality is, we knew, guilty or not, that Johnny's never coming home, right? He's just not coming home. The pain, the damage was already done. He's never coming back, and that pain's never going to change. The O'Keefes, obviously, most know the story now about his Johnny's older sister passing, and his brother-in-law, and how he took in the kids, and that is heroic stuff. That's not run-of-the-mill stuff. That's stuff that when the moment arises, and you feel like, I'd be that guy. I would be that guy. I don't know. You hope you would.
Tell us the story of how he was heroic in your life, or how he was funny, or the details are all we hear about is he took in the kids. I get that you don't want to share, those kind of personal stories, but John O'Keefe needs to come into this case. It's been all Karen Reed. Here's another quote from Paula Prado. No way could we see what was happening. See, she's telling what's not happening. In front of the courthouse, we saw a pink shirt here and there, but not the crowd. We didn't see the crowd. and we couldn't hear. They heard everything. Just so. So here's like just what I mean about being a little bit of a troll. I would love to have you author my biography until I get famous and rich. What do you think? Paula Prado went after Innocence Fraud Watch and claimed that Innocence Fraud Watch, hold on one second, let me pull it up so I can show you. That Innocence Fraud Watch called her, I want to get this exactly correct. Please hold. Yeah, and then Jennifer Coffindaffer is putting out misinformation that this juror said she looked at X during the trial, which did not happen. Which is not what she said. I'm not saying it didn't happen, but it's not what she said. She said she looked at it after the case. So Paula Prado then attacked Innocence Fraud Watch and her blog by calling it, she said, this is Innocence Watch defending herself. For the record, at no time has Innocence Fraud Watch ever referenced Paula Prado as a manipulative mastermind. What Innocence Fraud Watch called Paula Prado in her blog was a skilled manipulator. And also, Innocence Fraud Watch, this is what Paula Prado claimed that she said, also never referred to Paula Prado as a dumb as hell immigrant who can barely speak English, which makes me think, I wonder if is that her persona that she came to court with, or is that the persona that she uses when she wants to fool people? I don't know. Let me know what you think. I think this is a good place. Does anybody have anything else to say? Thanks for sticking with me. I think I'm going to leave it here for tonight, but that will give you an idea of some of the people that manipulated their way onto the jury. I mean, how are you going to even weed these people out when they have so many different aliases and faces? And I don't know, but she is on she's on Turtle Boy tonight, probably as we speak. I don't know when he goes live, but he's probably going to be spitting out more. Of course, she's the hero of free Karen readers everywhere. She says exactly what they want to hear, and she will use this to her advantage. She will probably, just as Turtle Boy will be gaining money and power as this side continues, the friends and family of John O'Keefe keep making the same mistakes, talking to innocence frauds, journalists, and journalists that are going to cut them up and ask soft questions and manipulate them and edit their interview. So even when they do make strong points, they're sandwiched between a whole bunch of free Karen Read talking points. Once again, I invite anyone who knew John O'Keefe and loved him to contact me at Roberta Glass. Oh, it's robertaglass23@gmail.com. Let's talk. I'd love to try to head this off. Otherwise, this is not going away. This idea that they're going to move on or this is going to die down. It's not going to die down. I'm not convinced that Aiden Turtle Boy Carney is going to do any prison time. And the civil case is coming up. So let's strategize. All right. I'll talk to you all very soon. Please hit the thumbs up, support the channel. I cannot do it without you. Links are in the description of this episode. Send me a Venmo, buy me a coffee, or become a Patreon supporter and get access to content that is exclusive nowhere else. Links all in the description of this episode. Have a great night, everyone. See you back here real soon. Thanks for listening.
I hit my boyfriend with my car. It wasn't an accident, but with lying lawyers I'll go far. Lying lawyers and witness harassment. I'll avoid prison, it was snowing. I pushed the pedal down, hit him hard. Now the legal system I clown. Innocence, fraud campaign to save my skin. Making money, truth is my second victim. Carry, carry, gin, gin. Like John, you were my mark. My innocence fraud campaign is my biggest hit. Yeah. I hit my boyfriend with my car. It wasn't an accident, but with lying lawyers I'll go far. Lying lawyers and witness harassment. I'll avoid prison, it was snowing. I pushed the pedal down, hit him hard. Now the legal system I clown.